if I was going to do something different, I'd probably get into heavy hauling machinery or equipment, because that it seems to be very niche, like move big CNC machines or something like that. Something where you can dictate, kind of the price.
And welcome back to the Steel and Dirt podcast, where we like to talk about equipment, construction, how to make money in the trades. And there's definitely money in the trades. Today, we're talking with Justin Sturgill. He's one of the most real, coolest guys in trucking. If you haven't seen his channel, you're about to find out why. Welcome to the show, Justin. Good to have you.
Yeah, good to be here. Nice
Awesome.
to meet you guys.
Awesome. Well, let's start out with this, and this is a wide open thing. What is the big problem or problems going on in trucking today?
There is three major problems, and I'll put them in the severity, I guess, of the order. Number one is the quality of worker. Okay, the quality of worker has gone down in the last 3 years so bad it really hurts. Okay, then that compounds a problem that is another problem, that's insurance. Okay, because when you have a bad quality of worker, they make a lot of mistakes that cost insurance companies a ton of money, and then that hampers your bottom line. One or two things: quality of people, and then the fuel price is an issue, but with the fuel surcharges and stuff that we're getting, and the companies are upping what they get paid, that is an issue. And I would say one more thing: the dump truck business, you really can't decide what you want to charge as a company. Like when Apple builds this iPhone, they tell us, oh, it's $1,500, take it or leave it. Okay. In the trucking industry, there's some person that has 0 trucks telling us that we're only going to pay you this much to do this. And again, it's a take it or leave it proposition. I wish that would change. Those are some of the things that really hamper what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Now, let's talk a little more about the people side, and you're talking about the quality of drivers and et cetera. What brought that on, do you think?
If I had the $1 million answer, I don't know. I've tried everything. You try incentives, you try all this stuff. It doesn't work. I think the problem is that there was so many people that were looking for jobs. People felt like they could come and go as they please. And also maybe, government policies giving people money to stay home. I think that affected things, even though the trucking industry, they kind of lied to us. They said that we were essential and that we needed to be doing all this stuff. And then they stabbed a lot of people in the back later in that. And I think it just hurt a lot of people's, feeling. Here's also another thing. During the pandemic, people learned to survive with less. And then they realized that I don't need all this that we're chasing, and they give up.
Right.
And then it takes structurally, what I found is if you have a person off 6 months and they get to come and go and do whatever they want, it takes 24 months to get them back on the routine of working.
Right.
My opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And we're seeing it in, I think trucking and healthcare seem to be the two hit the hardest.
The problem is not getting people. The problem is getting people and retaining them. You know what I'm saying? Like if I told you how many people I've hired, and I will tell you this number, I've fired 3 people since 2015, 3 people. Okay. If I told you the number of how many people I have onboarded and taken off my payroll, it would shock people's mind. Shock.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It is over 110 people in 2 years.
Holy smokes.
And it's nothing that we can do. We have guys here that we train for a week. They're supposed to start on their own. They never show up. They don't answer their phone. They don't do anything. They disappear.
But you don't have a lack of people to get them in the door. It's just they don't stay.
They don't stay for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And people have such sensitive skin nowadays that if you tell them like, hey man, you made a mistake there, it's like they shut down and just go home and that's it.
how are we ever going to stop all this? Or are we?
I don't think that we ever are. I think that it starts with our education system at the basic preschool, kindergarten level, and these people have been how would I say this? Babied their whole life, told that you're
Mhm.
worth more than what you really are, and you can do whatever you want in life. And I just don't. But they never talk about that. Yeah, if you want to be successful, it takes 100+ hours a week, and 50 of them, or maybe 70 of them, you ain't going to get paid for. That's just
Mhm.
that's part of doing, like they say, you want to do big boy stuff, you got to wear big boy pants.
Right.
And I think that
Right.
a lot of people want the I would say the monetary satisfaction of uh being in charge. They
Mhm.
don't want necessarily the responsibility that the other 90% that comes with the 10% of monetary. They don't want that. They want to be treated as, like I've asked some exit questions, and the people say that, well, you don't have to work. So why should I come in and drive and make you rich? I don't get rich. And I said, okay, but do you have $4 million of your $4 million worth of assets and you know all this stuff? And just because you don't see me driving a truck and you don't see me here very much, that doesn't mean that we're not working.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, that
Right.
I would tell people, like, if you want to get somewhere and you want to get good at something, you have to stay there a long time. Job flipping, changing jobs. Yes, hey, listen, you're going to monetarily, and during COVID, that's what a lot of people did to get people. They paid outrageous. You're going to see what they're doing now is all those people that they paid outrageous, if they can't cut it, they let them go. And now they're going to get jobs back at more reasonable money where they really should be.
Right. Right.
And then so they have to understand that, like, yes, the government gave you a bazillion, or you know what I'm saying? This company gave you $75,000 over your base salary, but again, then you didn't do what they expected to get that money. Do you think that they're gonna do you think they're gonna
Right.
keep you? No.
Right.
Not
Exactly.
as interest rates go up and their stock price goes down. Every CEO's got to control costs. That's how they get their stock price to go back up. And
Right.
it's not gonna be
Exactly.
any different.
Yep. Let's kind of change gears a little bit and talk about new folks getting into this as a business, getting into trucking and hauling. What are some of the probably biggest mistakes people make as they get into this business that causes them to fail?
Well, I would say not paying attention to your numbers. Okay. What gets a lot of people in trouble is that uh let's just say that people that get into the trucking industry, typically why I think there's so high turnaround is that a lot of them are going to be low educated, not from, they've driven a truck their whole life and now they want to own one, which is great. But when you go from, it's hard to go from managing $1,200 a week to managing 20,000 a week. Okay. So extracurricular activities seem to get a lot of people in trouble. And then maybe they pick up some bad habits. You know what I'm saying? They do some bad things and they lose sight of the main goal of running the company. I think that's gets a lot of people in trouble. And also sometimes they take desperate freight just to say, well, we're going to keep moving. We got to do this. You know what I'm saying? I've been guilty of it before. I took some stuff that we lost hundreds of dollars, $100 a day. It doesn't seem like that much, but when you multiply it by 15 trucks for a month, like that, you got to be able to support that. Also, not making proper relationships with your bankers and your creditors, because that can make or break you. Like when
Hmm.
you go to the dealership to buy the truck, make a great relationship there with your parts department. That way, if you have to miss paying your parts account for 30 days, they don't call and beg you. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Building those relationships, building the trust, that's where a lot of people I feel go wrong, in my opinion, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and not understanding working capital and how to get that.
Right. Now I have a brother-in-law that farms and does a lot of things like that, and he had also worked in some factories, and recently he's out looking for a dump truck. What advice do you give people that are wanting to get into something like that? How to get started?
Well, what you got to do is find a place, a smaller company that you can broker onto. Okay. That's a bigger company that you can broker onto. Get on with those guys and get yourself started. In the trucking business, everybody in the dump truck business, everybody wants to be the only one that ever works. That's never going to happen because there's guys that have been here for 20 years. Buy something that you know that you can manage. You can make all the payments, manage all your stuff. If you work 4 days a week, maybe 3 days a week. Okay. If you work in a seasonal area, know that you have to make all your money in 9 months and then you're going to lay around and do nothing for 2 until you get a reputation of being there on time every time that they call, not, working every Saturday, working every junk shift that nobody else wants to do. All righty. And another thing that you have to learn how to do is figure out how to make money on the stuff that nobody else wants to haul.
Mm-hmm. That makes
And build
sense.
yourself a little niche. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got on this gravel gig where the last guy said, screw it, I can't make $1 million on it, but you think you can make $500 and you're just going to keep grinding that out till something better comes along. That's what you got to do.
Makes
And
sense.
also learn to know, a lot of people get in your lane and stay in it. Okay. Don't get worried. Don't get involved in all the political stuff that goes along out here in the dump trucking community, because there's a lot of political stuff that you can get yourself wrapped up into and not really realize that these guys are playing you to better their position.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys
Mhm.
get themselves in that trouble. I've seen it happen. You get involved with, you know what I'm saying? This guy's trying to push you around because people get scared. They see a guy show up with one dump truck. They know it's a matter of time before he's got 5. Well, that just eliminates where they're at.
Right. Right.
So they want to
Um,
try to get you out.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying our show, and if you are, we would appreciate it if you would help us out. Crush that like button, hit the subscribe, and be sure notifications are on so you'll be notified whenever we release a new podcast, guide, or compilation. We appreciate the support, and now let's get back to the show.
Makes sense. Now here in his situation, he's looking at, I'm going to pay cash. I'm going to find an older truck. That's where I'm going to start. Do you recommend that's a good way to start, or should people
Yeah,
run out?
that's how I started. I started out with a loan from my parents. You know what I'm saying? That I had to beg them for over 4 months before they said okay. And we did that. I started out with a truck that I bought cash, and I worked on it for a month before I took it out on the road, and I got started in it. Luckily I made some right decisions early, like I started working for a company, another company called me, they offered me more money. I kind of went over there, slowly started. I bought a second truck and sent that to another company, spread myself out a little bit, not got every eggs in one basket. But yes, you would want to, that's what I was saying. Buy something you can manage. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to go off in the deep end like I am. I'm so far in, I can't ever get out,
Right.
because I have
Right.
so many trucks and all of them are under payments and we have so much stuff going on. My nut to crack every month is outrageous compared to a single truck owner guy that paid cash and, worked his truck when he was available.
Right.
And that's
But
how, I started and grew it into this.
invest and take that chance. Who knows? You'll ask yourself that for 10 years and here you sit in the same position, but you've definitely went out and taken the risk and done the things to grow a bigger business.
Oh yeah. If I was a gambler, I bet on myself as a long shot, and, we're breaking even right now. We haven't won. We haven't lost, I would say we're, it's 50-50, but if you don't take the risk, there's no upside. And a lot of things that people need to learn about trucking. And this is one thing that I talked to guys this morning about, is trucking is about volume. It's not, this business is based on volume. So the more trucks you got, obviously the more money you think you're going to make, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. There's some weird numbers in there that if you get stuck in a rut, like, 10 to 20, it's kind of hard to get over some humps. You just got to keep working to get over.
Mm-hmm.
Can't
Right.
give up.
Now, somebody starting out, and I was talking about dump truck hauling, but it could be lots of other things. You could start out with a pickup truck doing local hauling. You could, a lot of people buy something smaller and they're doing these expedite jobs, run around in a van or whatever. There's so many different things related to transportation you could get into. If you were starting over today, would you go into the same thing you're doing now, or would you look at a different avenue?
I would do the exact same thing. I don't want to drive over the road. Over the road is for big multi-million-dollar companies. And the only reason I say that is because they control the rate and they're traded on the stock market so they can raise capital. Okay. And that market's going to get a little bit harder because, they went away from the government's going to let them outlaw those lease to purchase that were vultures on the trying to get drivers to, basically the drivers paid for the whole truck and there was nothing, the company didn't have to pay for that asset.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just, another thing would maybe be, but Amazon is starting to lay off people. So it's like, what are they going to do? I think FedEx is going to have a little bit of an issue. They use private carriers again. There's something you can get in, maybe doing that, like delivering a FedEx route. But, if I was going to do something different, I'd probably get into heavy hauling machinery or equipment because that it seems to be very niche, like move big CNC machines or something like that. Something where you can dictate, kind of the price.
Starting out, of course, we all, when we start a business and do things, we make mistakes. Are there some of the things or lessons that you did early on that you might could pass on to the listeners and say, hey, I did this, don't do that?
Man, I was talking about, I was thinking about it, I've made some mistakes. I wouldn't say mistakes. I made some bad judgment calls. Just on some things, I really don't want to kind of expand on it, just on taking chances on people that I knew I shouldn't took chances on, giving people too many opportunities. And it cost me, it's cost me a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say that. A lot of my employees say I give people too much leeway. I would say that's one of my mistakes is I don't keep my, hand on the, my thumb on them or anything like that. I'm not really a micromanager. And I would say sometimes I believe that hurts me. And also I grew pretty fast and I don't know if a lot of other people could, manage how fast I, grew trucks. 1 year I bought 8 in 1 year. I mean, that's a lot of moving parts, and that stuff just gets up there, if you will.
Yep. I saw a press release the other day that Pepsi had just gotten their first delivery of the Tesla electric semi truck. What do you think about the possibility of a lot of this going electric, or have you looked at it at all?
Well, yeah, I've looked at it in the dump truck company. I don't know if it would work. The problems with electric is I think that they're way out over their skis on this. And what I mean by that is that the trucks cost $900,000. You have to be in a place where you can get 480 power for the charger to work. And the charger costs 200 grand. And I thought, man, that's a huge investment to go 150 miles a day. So it's only designed for people that can control their route. And that would be a Pepsi. You come in, this truck only goes into the inner city of New York. Okay. It never goes above 8 miles an hour. We can go 200 miles. It circles back to the hub that we have bought here, and we have plenty of power and we have plenty of capital to buy as many chargers as we need, because it takes 8 hours to charge and you got one, you know what I'm saying? You can only charge one charger per truck. So I just think that maybe it would go electric. I just, there is some advantages about electric. It's instant torque. That would be totally amazing. It would be really quiet. It would be easier on the drivers. I would say it'd be less fatigue. Problem is they're not going to be able to carry as much because they weigh so much. So that means the freight prices need to double or triple, because now instead of carrying 40,000 pounds of freight, you can only carry 20 or 18. Okay. So then you need more of those to do the same amount of work. So I just think that we're maybe 10 to 20 years out over our skis. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think even with some of the thinking on the cars, I mean, some of the legislation they're trying to push through is to be so much % electric by 2030. And, I don't think the country's not ready. I don't think the infrastructure's there, and I don't know how quickly they can get it there. Is it a good thing? I don't know. I never driven one. I don't really have an opinion either way. I'm sure it'll help the environment. You take stuff out of the air,
Well,
but
is it really going to help the environment?
I wonder when the cars are done, the batteries are done, what happens to those? So
yeah, what happened to those? We have to send that to a third world country that, again, just buries them back in the ground. And I don't know if you've seen cobalt and lithium mines, but they're not the world's cleanest, safest place. So, and then are we, as United States, we're doing all this stuff to be green, and then we have people say that we got to stop giving these third world country dictators oil money. So now let's give some third world country dictators some lithium money, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're just moving.
Exactly.
All we're doing is moving it around. It's not like you fixed the problem. You just moved it around. So what are we doing?
Well, Justin, I won't hold you up any longer, man. I really appreciate you joining us. I know we had some back and forth getting scheduled, but I sure appreciate your patience with that and hanging in there with us. And best of luck to you with your business. And thanks so much for sharing all this stuff with our listeners.
Yeah. Thank you. Anytime you want to do it again, just let me know. I got plenty of time on my hands. The next 3 months are pretty bare for us.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
All righty. Well, thank you.